There are Milwaukee neighborhoods that were hit particularly hard during last August's record-breaking floods, neighborhoods where residents still panic when there's heavy rain. WUWM's Jimmy Gutierrez and Akira Quinn talked with one Milwaukee man about what happened to his home and how his family is dealing with it 1 year later.
And this block in particular got hit really hard during the floods in August.
This is Edgar Mendez. He lives in the Clark Square neighborhood on Milwaukee's south side.
But this house, the basement actually collapsed. So there was a big opening right there on the side where those boards are. Basically, the whole garbage from the whole neighborhood was floating into his basement.
A year after the city's historic flooding, some properties on the block are still a mess. And Edgar is still haunted by that night, which he remembers clearly or can't seem to forget.
My wife looks out the window and says, "The cars!" And I'm like, "What?" And come running to the door, and we see our cars like half submerged in water already.
It wasn't just his car.
Every car that drove through here got stuck. So now there's cars starting to just fill the street.
Edgar has lived in this home for about 10 years. He says during heavy rain, his basement would take on some water from time to time. But this was different.
We look in the basement and we notice water is filling our basement quick.
Pictures he shared have shown water in the basement rising just inches from the first floor.
And we're watching just in horror like, oh my God, it's about to get to the kitchen.
Milwaukee and surrounding areas got up to 14 inches of rain over 2 days. Eventually, the water started to recede. But Edgar and the family lost everything in the basement. The family's clothes, appliances like the furnace and hot water heater, and irreplaceables like his cherished vintage Simpsons figurines. He says after August, some of the neighbors on his block moved out or were forced out. Then in April, floods hit the city again. And he says while the city wasn't ready, his block was.
I saw people like almost like in rescue mode, like the house next door.
He saw his neighbors in the streets, waist deep in water.
So people were like putting their kids on the back of a truck and getting out of here. I mean, kids were crying. I think there was 2 people trying to use a pipe to pop that sewer in the middle of the street.
While all this is happening, Edgar says he couldn't move.
I was in shock. So I was like, at first I couldn't get out there. I was just like frozen.
Survivors of natural disaster can develop a sort of PTSD that shows up as paralyzing fear or becoming hypervigilant around similar weather events.
Even the kids, I mean, everybody. Once it starts raining, it's like everybody's on high alert. Even on Sunday, which was the anniversary of the first flood, it started pounding that day. And I literally took my car, because this is where 2 of my cars got flooded, and I drove down to the corner lot, and I sat there and I waited. And I was like, yeah, I'd rather get hit by a lightning out here than be parked in my driveway. Right.
In the August 2025 flood, Edgar lost the first new car he'd ever bought. In the April flood, he lost the second one. And when it comes to his house, the one he's raised a family in, lived in for 10 years, the one his cousin lives behind, he says he's had enough. Like almost everyone else on his side of the block, he's selling, looking for a neighborhood less prone to flooding. When FEMA came in August to help with flood recovery, he remembers asking them if there were a lot of claims from his neighbors, claims to help reimburse them for what they lost. FEMA said no. Edgar says there are probably a bunch of reasons for why this was the case. It's a complicated process. Maybe legal status had something to do with it. And people were just overwhelmed. But his message for neighbors and the city is that we've got to stick together because he thinks that this won't be the last time Milwaukee's flooded.
Everyone's pretty conscious of the dangers, growing dangers associated with weather and climate change and things like that. And I think maybe you didn't get flooded, maybe your trees didn't fall, but eventually we're all getting impacted. So I think it's a problem that we're all going to have to work together to fix.
That was Edgar Mendez, resident of the Clark Square neighborhood and managing editor of Milwaukee's Neighborhood News Service. That story was produced by Jimmy Gutierrez and Akira Quinn. You can find a link to his story at WUWM.com and MilwaukeeNNS.org.